Occasionally, I get asked if money wasn't a problem, what would my ideal job be? And to be honest with you, I feel like that's something that I have never been able to really answer because I feel like I've never really been able to discover something about myself that I can cultivate. For example, music. I've loved music. I've wanted to learn how to play the piano since I was 12 years old. Did I ever have the opportunity to? No. Did my parents know that I was interested? Yes. Was I invested in? No. And that pretty much became my reality. And now, looking back, I wonder if that would have made a difference when it comes to how I turned out. Because I had this issue where, for the longest time, I could not commit to anything. Say, another thing I was supposed to be was a Girl Scout. Mom paid for me to be part of the Girl Scouts, and it was a lot of money too. But that's when I discovered that I don't enjoy being in social situations. I think I was like 8 years old when mom signed me up for that, and I liked to do the activities in which we were in a classroom on Saturdays and we'd perform the activities. That was fine. But when the moment came to talk about excursions in which I go to another town and my mom isn't there or anything like that, I guess that's what they call separation anxiety. I never went to any of those excursions. I learned at that moment in time that I would have problems being away from home. And to this day, I still am like that. Because the longest I can be away from home on any trip, it's 2 days. And then by the third day, I'm just ready to go. Now that I have had time to journal about this for so many years and introspect about myself daily, like I do, I think that I have arrived at the conclusion that my favorite thing to do really is to learn. I like to ask people questions. I like to pull things apart. And I'm starting to do that even with food. I'm fascinated by content that some people create that has to do with what does something look like when you zoom into it? What does something look like in slow motion? Appreciating details like that is something that really satisfies me. As a result, I feel like my favorite job to have, if it even existed, would be to be a student. Like, literally, I wish that I could get paid for learning because that's really how I invest my time most of the day, my leisure time. I just like to discover things, ask questions, find out what's out there, even if I don't necessarily do anything with what I learn or partake in the experience that I'm observing. Say, when I see people online creating videos about sports, I don't necessarily feel the urge to practice those sports, but I can appreciate the science behind what they're doing. You have to work out, preferably eat a certain way, and you have to stretch and a person's progress to getting to achieve the level of athleticism that they need to perform whatever it is that they're doing. Things like that. So, when it comes to other topics such as engineering and architecture, more complicated things like that, or even the political topics, I've been a little obsessed with learning about history now. I never cared for history. I actually hated that class, and as a topic, I never really cared to learn about the past because for me, only the present and future were relevant. But now, I have a massive appreciation for going back in time with my mind and revisiting old moments, especially difficult moments with people. And I have such an appreciation for the fact that I have journaled for so long that even though some of my entries revolved a lot around people, it's nice that I can read at some of the darker stuff that I may have written about somebody and be like, you know what? Some of these instances, it was just a massive misunderstanding, and it was a product of whatever an individual may have been going at that time, what I may have been going at that time, what I may have been focused on at that time. And it's interesting how I could have had a perception of something going a certain way, but then the other individual involved had their perception, and they are able to, in a sense, justify their behavior, even if it's something that turned out to be wrong at the time. As long as that person is willing to discuss it, that's when it becomes fruitful for me. But for me, there's nothing sadder than there is something going on with so much potential to teach so much, but a person is not really willing to explore that. And for me, sometimes I add videos to my watch later, and sometimes I think, why does it take me so long to read about this or hear about this? And I find that I've been very mindful about what my headspace is when it comes to watching stuff like that, when I really shouldn't. Sometimes when I'm at my worst and I feel like a topic exists to make me feel worse, it actually turns out to be a rewarding experience because I'm going through something tough, but someone has already processed it and simplified it for my own consumption. And then I feel like it's actually helping me get over the difficulties that I'm going through. If you ever wonder what I'm going to do with my life, like for real, I don't have a plan for that. And is it scary? Of course it's scary because this is not what I imagined my future to look like when I was younger. I thought I was going to be a teacher. But given that such a thing is not really viable for me, at least I know what my favorite thing to do is, what my favorite activity is, and that's to learn. I can learn about everything, even if I don't understand it or if I end up doing nothing with it. Last year, one of the things I was learning about, it was cars. I never thought that I would care about just figuring out things about cars, and that's why you guys all of a sudden are seeing me posting the occasional car thing. I didn't know that about me, but now that I do, I just want to continue. And even if I don't achieve anything great, or if I don't get to turn it into a career of any sort, at least I can say that I know what are the things that I need to keep myself happy and interested in being alive.